Today we're going to do a virtual wine tasting with Halleck Vineyards, and we're going to be talking to Ross Halleck. Halleck Vineyards is a family artisan winery in Sebastopol, California, in Sonoma's Russian River Valley.
I'm here in my dining room in Sonoma County in Sebastopol, and Stephanie is playing just some slides sort of to give you a sense of place. My, this is not a green screen. And I've been tempted because, people have said, oh, well, we'd love to see the vineyard behind you. But I think that for the time being, I like it being authentic. And if we need to, I can pick up the computer and show you the vineyard because it's right in front of me. Lane and Paul saw an article in Forbes magazine a couple of weeks ago that highlighted these virtual tastings that we're doing. And so asked if they could join us. So we said, of course. And that's how they come to us. And so we were honored to be featured in Forbes. We kind of hit the ball at exactly the right time to get that kind of coverage. We're a small family winery. It's just myself, my ex-wife, Jennifer, and we've been divorced for 15 years and have been working together every day since, harmoniously. We're wonderful partners. And Stephanie, who's a certified sommelier and directs our sales. We have 3 sons, and they've all been involved in one way or another, but they're all launched and independent and living on their own now in Southern California, so they're not working with us anymore except for like spot projects. We planted the vineyard in about 1992, 93, and we had the unique quirk of fate to be judged #1 Pinot Noir in the United States. Our very first vintage, which was fast forward to 2002. And in the ensuing years have continued to earn accolades and attention. And I like to say that winning #1 Pinot Noir in the United States and $4 buys you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. We won #1 Pinot Noir in the United States last year again with the San Francisco Chronicle wine competition, which is the largest in North America. There were 7,200 wines. And we were the first winery in the 40-year history of the competition to actually win twice. We won the top 2 tiers of Pinot Noir. And then we also won #1 Sauvignon Blanc in the United States last year with Sunset Magazine. And in the California State Fair and the Orange County Wine Society, we were judged #1 white wine in the entire state of California. In the western and relatively southern part of Sonoma Coast, these vineyards, these little clusters that you see are all the vineyards from which we source fruit. They are all within about 10 miles of each other. So this is a very small little circle. And you will find through our tasting that they taste quite different from each other. And we make them exactly the same way. And it really speaks to the importance of place. So we're the most far west. From where I sit, I can actually see Napa Valley heading to the northeast, and I can see the Pacific Ocean to the west. So we're on a ridge top at about almost 1,000 feet. And a very unlikely place to have planted grapes. When we planted grapes back in 1993, there were no vineyards in Western Sebastopol. We were the very first. And people thought we were kind of nuts to plant a vineyard, and they thought we were further crazy to plant a vineyard that was organic. But we didn't have a very big mission or a very big goal. It was essentially a 1 acre vineyard that was beautiful and relatively inexpensive landscaping. I hoped to make backyard garage wine, but if the fruit was good enough, my fingers were crossed that I could sell it and help fund the college education of my then infant son. Well, the vineyard produced fruit, obviously, but it took 6 years for it to produce a commercial harvest. And by that time, I had 3 sons, so it seemed unlikely that it was going to be a college fund. But lo and behold, we made all the mistakes that were right, and created an extraordinary vineyard in an extraordinary place. And just in 2018, we were acknowledged by the Somm Journal magazine as one of the top 5 vineyards in all of Sonoma County. So with that, I think we should start tasting some wine.
I do have a question. So all of these vineyards that you source the grapes from are all organic?
No, they're not, but we are pushing in that direction. So there are 2 currently farmed organic vineyards. Halleck is one, and the farm is the second. And the farm vineyard you have with you. And we are the only ones to have ever made wine from that vineyard. We bought its very first crop, and it was conventionally farmed at that time by 2 gentlemen named Ben and George. And we kind of squeezed and twisted and got them to finally agree to go to organic farming methods just about 5 or 6 years ago. They were really resistant because some of their very best friends are the Jackson family, and the Jackson family was telling them that there was absolutely no market demand for organic grapes. And that it produced substandard quality wine, and that it was significantly more expensive. And so it was a very tough position at our size, even though we were the only ones buying their grapes. But Barbara Banke had one ear, and she obviously has a lot of influence in Sonoma County. That was Jess Jackson's wife, and then we were on the other ear saying, hey, we're your customers. We really want you to go organic. And so what we finally did to convince them is we said we would cover all the farming costs.
Oh, okay.
And we did that for 2.5 years, covered all the farming costs. And then we hit a bit of a speed bump financially. And we said, guys, we'll just have to find some other vineyards because we want to be organic, and we can no longer afford to manage your vineyard. And of course, they capitulated and said, okay, we'll cover the costs. You just keep buying our fruit. Yeah. And so now we're all happy campers together.
So you buy their entire production then? We
buy their entire crop. And we actually planted a 3rd acre. So it started as 2 acres and now it's 3 acres. And last year, the farm vineyard won #1 Pinot Noir in the United States. That was the best of class in the San Francisco Chronicle. And this year, 2020, before all the other competitions have canceled, the Chronicle competition is in January, and it won the double gold again.
Okay, that's good.
So it's a very special vineyard. I'm really happy to be able to share it with you today.
Great.
Did everybody have their Sauv Blanc poured?
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, just take a smell. Swirl it and smell. I describe myself as a New World winemaker with Old World style. And a couple of things. One is you get that bright minerality, those citrus notes, but you'll also notice maybe some tropical notes, maybe some tart pineapple, some tart passion fruit, and more importantly, that the wine just lasts and lasts and lasts. You're probably still tasting it, even with this conversation I just had with Karen. I mean, you probably are still tasting that wine. It really explodes in your mouth. So now I'm going to ask you to do the next thing, which is take a piece of the Highway 1, which is the Fontina style cheese. wine, for some reason, just is completed with food. And consequently, we have these wonderful experiences with chefs across the country. I've done 11 dinners with Michael Anthony at the Gramercy Tavern. I've worked with Thomas Keller at Per Se, Kat Cora, just a host of wonderful chefs in pairing our wines with their incredible food, or them making food to pair with our wines. And those experiences eclipse any glass of wine I could ever have on its own. And so that's what I'm always trying to pursue. And that's something that we try to pursue with our wine club as well. Let's see. So we've done the tasting with the Sauv Blanc, and now let's move on to the Three Sons. We call this our handshake wine. It has, as I said, I sort of had a background in French flavor profile. And so California Pinot Noir notoriously has a descriptor of being a fruit bomb or very fruit forward. And if you're familiar with Burgundy from France, you know that Burgundy often leads with much more earthier tones. It has very different descriptors than California Pinot Noir. And what we're trying to achieve with this wine is a balance between earth and fruit. So you'll notice on the nose that you'll get those deep, dark cherry notes right up front, but then it moves very quickly to a flavor profile of clove and cinnamon, what we describe as forest floor. And then it ends with this black pepper note that carries the spice way down the back of your palate. So this next cheese we're going to taste is called Estero Gold. And we struggled to find the perfect pairing for this Three Sons Cuvée. And this is kind of an educational moment, because people think that cheese and wine go together perfectly always. And while this cheese is perfectly nice with this wine, I don't think they do a lot for each other. They don't hurt, but they don't help. So I invite you to take a piece of the cheese and try it.
Well, that is excellent. The cheese is excellent, and the wine is excellent. I mean, we can stop now, because this is my favorite. This is really, really delightful.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. Well, we've got the Big Daddy to come. So,
oh no, I can't take more.
Big Daddy. Wow.
No, this is lovely. This is really, really nice. The cheese is great with this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Our next wine, it's called the Farm Vineyard. And so, as I mentioned earlier, this is a 3-acre vineyard. It's farmed by 2 retired San Francisco gentlemen. Their names are Ben and George. This wine is our oldest in our portfolio, other than our estate grown. It was the very first vineyard we purchased, and we bought their very first crop. So no other winery has ever made wine from this vineyard except us. And it became so popular, we asked them to plant another acre. And so we're very excited that will be coming on either next year or the year after. And so we'll have more of it. But as I said, their mission is to grow the finest fruit in the world. They have a little lawn next to the vineyard and a couple of Adirondack chairs and a hammock, and they sit and they watch the wine grow. They watch it grow, and they're fastidious. They walk up and down the vines, and they'll turn the fruit this way. They'll turn the fruit this way. They'll pick a leaf here. They'll pick a leaf there. And all I can say is you can really taste the love in this particular vineyard. And you'll notice it has very dark fruit up front, and it has a very earthy aroma as well. So these truffles that you have are actually made with this wine. So they are, the wine is in the truffles. They're 100% organic. They are 75% cacao. And I invite you to just either cut them in half and take a small bite, or take one and take a small bite, because if you take too much, it'll overpower the wine and everything else you're tasting. Well, so those are our 3 selections today. We make 8 different wines, sometimes 9. But what I think what I've failed to to discuss before we leave is the meaning of our logo. Because I think it's important for you to understand the underpinning of what is behind these wines, and the logo tells a story. So the first thing that is obvious about it is that it's an H for Halleck. And, but more importantly, it means one-to-one, as depicted by the Roman numerals. We want to have a personal connection with everyone who enjoys our wine. And that is why we invite people to our home. We invite them on trips around the world, and we travel to meet them as we are here. But if you think of the dot as a grape, the grape has been a plant of power for over 8,000 years. I don't know if you read, but in 2017, they found a clay pot in the Republic of Georgia on the Black Sea that had remnants of wine in it. They dated 8,000 years ago. Well, that's 1,000 years before Mesopotamia and the birth of civilization. So you've got to guess it was in the realm of the shaman, the spiritual healer, the spiritual practitioner, the healer, and it's sacred in almost every religion in the world. And it's because of this amazing ability to connect us.